Insiders making some massive sales recently. Jeff Bezos offloading about 50 million Amazon shares in just the past few weeks. And insiders at Meta and Microsoft also shedding shares. Say that 5 times fast. These sales are largely planned, but they could they trigger cause for concern? For a closer look inside the world of insider selling, let's bring in Ben Silverman. He's the VP of Research at Verity and host of Insider Data podcast Differentiated. Ben, do these moves raise any red flags for you, or does one raise more red flags than another? And if so, why?
Thanks for having me on, Tyler. Yeah, so one of the moves does, and that's Meta. What's interesting there is Mark Zuckerberg had been selling daily since the beginning of November of last year. Then the stock gapped higher to over $460 earlier this month, and we suddenly saw an acceleration in that selling. So that type of behavior is a red flag. It makes us actually cautious about Meta's valuation because he's doing these daily pattern sales, and then he suddenly goes off pattern and just dramatically accelerates the number of shares he's selling. So that's the type of valuation-oriented selling that we're looking for.
If I am trying to use seller or insider buyer data, am I on firmer ground watching the buys than I am watching the sells?
It's both. So from a macro perspective, insiders are really good buyers. We've seen them buy, the dips and the big events over the last 20 years. Whether it be the great financial crisis, the banking crisis 2016, or the COVID pandemic. As sellers, they're not as predictive as a group because we went through a decade-long bull market and there was a ton of insiders selling. So you have to break it down to the company-specific level, and you have to start looking at who is doing price-oriented selling. If you're selling all the time, what you're looking for is deviations in selling behavior. You're looking for unusual types of behavior overall. And you're looking for this valuation-oriented selling. So Jeff Bezos sells 50 million shares, but he doesn't do any type of price triggers embedded in his Rule 10b5-1 plan. What he's just doing is he's selling the stock over a few-day period, and he's done that over and over for years and years.
So, Ben, what can I infer, if anything, about the market's direction from the fact, as you report, that the ratio of sellers to buyers right now is 3.98? That is much higher than the historic ratio of 2.7. Is that in itself an alarming sign?
So right now, that ratio is putting insiders on the edge of our radar. We've got about a month left before insider trading windows close for the quarter. So we've got a month to see what insiders are going to do. As we know, it's still earnings season, right? We're still seeing, a lot of companies report earnings. And so over the next month, it's going to be really crucial for investors to drill down on the stocks they care about, the individual companies, and see what insiders are doing. Because as the quarter draws to a close, that's when we really start to get that tell. So right now, the insider selling is on the edge of our radar, and it's either going to move off the radar because maybe we get more buying, maybe we get an even out of the selling, or it's going to move closer to the middle of our radar and start raising more red flags.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. Ben Silverman, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Guy, you flagged something.
Yeah, it's not a market timing device by any stretch of the imagination, but when the ratio gets to levels like we're seeing now, it should raise a little bit of a red flag. You can say, it's fine. They're selling stock. They're entitled to do so. A lot of these things have been planned. I get it. We're not suggesting they're doing anything wrong. But when the smartest people in the world are selling to the magnitude that we're seeing now, you have to take notice. You might say, good for them. I'm going to buy what they're selling. But a lot of people would say maybe this is an indication that they think the market's getting a little bit ahead of itself.
All right, very